Severe tropical cyclone Jasper at this time lining up Cairns for a potentially devastating landfall next Wednesday as a Category 3 cyclone. Severe tropical cyclone Jasper pictured here in the Coral Sea right now. It is weakening, however it is expected to strengthen before it crosses the far North Queensland coastline around Cairns or just north of Cairns around Port Douglas next Wednesday. Your latest update brought to you by Force 13 Australia and Oceania. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, it'd be much appreciated. Leave a like on the video while you're at it, watch it through to the end to get the latest information and tell us how we can improve it in the comment section down below. But here is a look at severe tropical cyclone Jasper, a Category 3 strength cyclone with 130 km/h sustained winds, gusting to 185 km/h, headlining a significant landfall possible north of Cairns in around 3 to 4 days' time. So you can see the storm right now. It's expected to continue on its significant weakening trend over the next sort of 2 to 3 days before it will stable out as it moves south of Willis Island, becoming a Category 2 strength tropical cyclone, and then on final approach to Cairns, where a landfall is expected around the Port Douglas or Wajal area, we'll be seeing some strengthening, as you'll see in the next forecast cone to play through in this video. We'll likely be seeing this storm get up towards Category 3 status again, and it will make landfall as a Category 3 strength storm just north of Cairns. You can see major forecast models on the center right hand side of your screen calling for the storm to intensify in the multi-model diagnostics up towards sort of Category 3 status on the Australian scale again. In fact, some daring to hint at a Category 4 strength landfall on Queensland at this time. That's unlikely, but it's not impossible. Sea surface temperatures remaining high for the system, around 28 degrees Celsius as it approaches the Queensland coastline, so it will have ample fuel to intensify. And once again, good agreements in the track forecast right now. We're seeing a lot more certainty with where this storm is expected to make landfall. And right now we are expecting this landfall on Cairns or just north of Cairns as a Category 3 strength tropical cyclone. So make sure you're using this weekend, especially tomorrow, to prepare for this cyclone. Monday should be your final preparations, battening down the hatches Tuesday evening as this cyclone draws closer to the coastline. No warnings or watches are in effect for this system currently. However, I imagine severe weather warnings and tropical cyclone watches will be issued probably tomorrow and into Monday morning. We'll likely be seeing blue alert raised for areas between Townsville and up towards Cooktown. So here's a look at the ECMWF 10-meter wind run courtesy of windy.com. You can see the system intensifying slightly as it moves towards land. You can see those red winds, those are gale force winds wrapping around the center of circulation as indicated by that big capital L. It moves north of Cairns again as a tightening and significant tropical cyclone. This forecast to me just screams that it is going to be rapidly intensifying upon landfall, which means we'll likely be seeing that high-end Category 2, Category 3 landfall, and interestingly moving into the Gulf of Carpentaria, where it becomes a significant tropical cyclone once again north of Mornington Island. So you can see again as we play through this run again, significant onshore flow, strong winds north of Mackay through to Townsville. We could be seeing some elevated tides and swell and seas in that part of Queensland as well over Sunday and Monday as this storm makes its final approach to landfall. So rough ocean conditions expected anywhere north of Mackay as a result of this cyclone, basically starting Sunday evening. Here's a look at the Access G3 10-meter wind runs. The Bureau of Meteorology's own forecast model, you can see initializing it as a strong tropical cyclone, Category 3 strength winds as indicated by those purples. Again, wrapping itself up nicely just before it makes that landfall on Queensland once again. It moves quite a bit further north than what we've initially been expecting, which should put Cairns out of the worst impacts of this cyclone. The dangerous core of the system should pass just to the north, but once again, can't rule out anything at this time. A significant tropical cyclone will make landfall on Queensland nonetheless, and it should just be north of Cairns. Playing that run through a little bit faster this time, you can see the cyclone wraps itself up just before landfall, dumping a lot of rainfall as well by the looks of it, pausing on the landfall and then moving inland again as a rainmaker system. Let's zoom in and take a look at the Icon model right now, another pretty reliable model on this system. It is blowing the system up quite dramatically just before landfall. You can see it gets significantly strong into what looks to be right now Monday and then into Tuesday morning, as you're seeing right now, up towards Category 3 sustained tropical cyclone force winds, moving just north of Cairns, making landfall as a Category 3 strength system. In fact, that looks like high-end Category 3 strength, and it is possible. Sea surface temperatures are there for the storm, so it's going to have plenty of fuel to do so. Let's jump over to windy.com and see have a look at some other forecast models right now. Right, so we're over here on windy.com right now. You can see Cyclone Jasper here, the central dense overcast, which is looking really sheared right now. However, still somewhat organized. You can see it's really trying to blow up an eye or an eye-like feature and some convection around it. It's really looking quite squished and quite worse for wear, but still remaining a structured tropical cyclone, which is why it's a Category 3 strength storm. I'm not sure how long it's going to last for, but what looks to be an eye is in the center of the system, and it could definitely be holding Category 3 status right now. It's definitely weakening, but it might not be weakening as fast as we expected, which means it is likely going to be stronger when it comes ashore in far North Queensland. What we're most interested in right now is the forecast and possible impact. So we're going to switch over to the wind forecast. Let's move up to around Tuesday midday, when this storm is going to be making its final approach to Cairns. Anywhere north of Townsville, Bowen, in fact, just anywhere north of Bowen, right up past Cooktown, could be expecting cyclone force conditions at this time. The southern side of the system here, strong gale force conditions, winds 30 knots out of the east, wind gusts probably higher at around 30 to 40 knots out of the east as well. This onshore flow in the inflow bands of this system will make wave conditions very rough indeed, and will probably bring a significant amount of rainfall ashore as well. You can see under the right banding features, there are certain locations that could be picking up to around 15-25 millimeters per hour, and under the right conditions, there are locations that could pick up to 250 millimeters that won't be directly impacted by the tropical cyclone as well. What is scary though is areas around Cairns and Ravenshoe, we could be seeing rainfall totals approach 750 millimeters, and in isolated pockets around Innisfail and Tully, which are the wettest locations in Australia, we could be seeing rainfall totals approach 1 meter or 1,000 millimeters. As we play this forecast run through on Tuesday, you can see the storm moves further north. It looks like it is just going to spare Cairns in this southern jump up towards the north here. Once again, this might just be a model anomaly. The storm is likely to wobble as it approaches the Queensland coastline, so it could move further south. It could wobble even further north, and we could be seeing a landfall around Wodgil or up towards Cooktown. It has been trending a little bit further north with every single model run. This morning we're looking at a landfall just north of Cairns and around the Port Douglas area. We're now looking at about 20 kilometres north of Port Douglas, so the forecast has become slightly better for Cairns. However, again, we cannot be writing off severe tropical cyclone conditions in Cairns itself, and we can basically guarantee cyclone conditions at some point for Cairns, even as far down south as Innisfail and as far north as beyond Cooktown around Cape Tribulation, that sort of area, or Cape Tribulation's down here, which is where we're likely to be seeing the direct hit on the storm, which looks to be around Wednesday morning at this time. I believe other forecast models push it back a little bit further. Around Wednesday midday local time, we'll be seeing this landfall just south of Port Douglas for the GFS model, which again is a very reliable forecast model. Once again, we're looking at cyclone conditions in Cairns as a result of this system. Peak wind gusts probably going to be approaching 100 knots here. The forecast models are great for location and pressure intensity of the cyclone and also rainfall, but they are horrible because of the wind and because of their model resolution, which basically means how much data they can crunch per square kilometre. So yeah, the GFS model, especially because it's a low resolution model, does not do good forecasting winds, and that's why the winds seem so low. We're probably going to be expecting sustained winds approaching 80 knots for the Cairns region at some point Wednesday and into Thursday. The Access model as well, calling for a far stronger system. This is the Bureau of Meteorology's own forecast model. You can see peak winds approaching sort of 80 to 85 knots as a result of this cyclone. Again, very, very significant indeed. That's 150 kilometres an hour sustained, with peak wind gusts probably approaching the 230 kilometre an hour wind mark. So again, anywhere around Cairns, Gordon Vale, Mareeba, Atherton, Port Douglas, Cape Tribulation, if I've said your location, we will be seeing very significant winds as a result of this tropical cyclone. And the same goes for rainfall as well. You can see the storm defines cyclone at this time. Tremendous rainfall quantities in 3 hours. Some locations could be seeing up to 112. In some locations, up to 150 millimeters of rainfall in just the 3 hour period. And again, if you were to look at 5-day rainfall accumulation, up to 750 millimeters just outside of Cairns, up in these mountainous regions. Port Douglas expecting 700 millimeters of rain from this cyclone. Cairns itself probably looking at about 650 to 700. And once again, under the right banding feature, we could be seeing a certain location receive up to 1,000 millimeters of rain. That will vary a lot depending on where the storm tracks. Same with wind, because we're not expecting this system to be a big system area-wise. There's a lot of uncertainty still with exactly where this storm is going to be making landfall, and that will have dramatic ramifications on the wind speeds that certain locations get. But put it this way, if the storm is to make a landfall on Port Douglas, which right now looks to be the most likely solution, Cairns will be receiving severe tropical cyclone conditions as a result of this cyclone, and they'll also be receiving a monster amount of rainfall, up to 700 millimeters, and in some locations around Cairns, up around Atherton and the Central Highlands, we could be seeing rainfall totals approach 1,000 millimeters or 1 meter. One thing I also just briefly want to touch on in this update is just how significant the wave heights are going to be as a result of this system. So it doesn't look like it right now. However, if we're to take a look at wave heights on Tuesday, we're going to be seeing these monster storm surges build up just south of the system because of the cyclonic rotation of this system, where we could be seeing peak wave heights probably approaching the 6 to 7 meter mark, peak storm surge heights probably approaching 6 meters or so. That's up to 20 feet, which is a substantial amount of storm surge to be pushed ashore around Cairns. So anywhere basically north of Innisfail to Port Douglas could be seeing a pretty significant amount of storm surge pushed ashore on Wednesday as this cyclone makes landfall. So if you're in an area prone to coastal flooding or like riverine flooding, make sure you are sandbagging now and preparing for a pretty devastating flooding situation, which looks to be possible in what could unfold from this tropical cyclone. Long range, it looks like the cyclone moves into the Gulf of Carpentaria and dumps a pretty significant amount of rainfall in this part of the world as well. Very, very dry actually. Mornington Island only receives about 200 millimeters of rain a year, so once again the yearly total could fall in one day as a result of this cyclone, so flash flooding certainly a prospect. But yeah, the entirety of the Cape York Peninsula should be bracing for very significant rainfall totals indeed. Anyways, that is the latest that I have on what is now severe tropical Cyclone Jasper. It's a significant system. Stay tuned for more updates. There's going to be plenty more on the Force 13 Australia channel. But that's all from me. I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.
Thank you for watching our content this update. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to get more updates covering all things weather and geophysics impacting Australia and the Oceania region. Subscribe to our other channels for more content from across the network, and be sure to check out our website where you can find free access to floater and radar imagery and articles on everything weather and much more. If you wish to support us directly, you can purchase some of our merchandise. We have a wide variety of clothing and homeware, or you could become an Ultimate Fan, which is the best way to directly support us, granting you some sweet perks and offers, including features in our custom storm animations, live streams, and much more.